Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be a little bit different to normal. As you may know, I have been gaming since I was 3 years old and currently now I'm 28. So it's been a long time. I've been really into gaming for years. And I want to do something a little bit different, something that's not necessarily Pokemon focused or cosplay focused. I wanted to kind of look back at my past and look at some of the best games that have come out over the years. So I'm going to be doing a series of top 5 videos which will look into every single console I've ever owned. So we're going to start off with my first ever console, which was the PlayStation 1. That is the first console I ever owned, and my earliest memories are of me playing a game which is featured in this top 10. I love it. I still have a PlayStation 1 now. I still have the games. I really love that console in general, so this has been really hard for me to narrow it down to 5, but I have managed to do it. And please don't forget to comment below your favorite PlayStation 1 game. But first, I'm cheating a little bit. We're going to go with an honorable mention first because I could not include this game. Croc 2. I love this little crocodile. He melted my heart as a kid. It was so much fun to play. It's a proper cool OG platformer. Graphics are still a little bit rocky nowadays, but it still holds up really well to me. It has a very charming atmosphere, it's very fun gameplay, very simple, and the little creatures, they look a little bit like Oddworld's puzzles, but I never noticed that before until literally this minute, looking at the little thing on the screen. He does look a little bit. The plot revolves around Croc, who is actually searching for his missing parents, but at the same time, he is saving these creatures that are being attacked by a villain who's called Baron Dante. Like I said, this is the second game in the series. The reason I picked the second one is that it's just a bit better. It's a little bit longer. It's just a bit smoother. It's a game I haven't played in a long time. I do need to replay it. That's why I'm a bit more general speaking about it. I'm going purely off memory more than anything. And I just have so many like cinematic memories of it. I have both the games, I bought them, and I do actually plan to play these on stream at some point, or in my own time, but probably in stream. So if you didn't know, I do stream, link is in the bio, so please follow me on there, and you get to see me stream some cool games. I also will add that I'm really sad they never continued this series, which is a shame. I feel like it really could do with the treatment, you know, like Spyro and the other games get. Like, it could do with a bit of, you know, love. But it is what it is. And now the real list begins, and we're going to go with number 5, which is Frogger 2. My box is a little bit broken. Frogger 2, it might be an interesting choice. I don't know if anyone else has played this game. You probably, I mean, you obviously have heard of Frogger. Frogger is a famous game from back in the day. But yeah, little did people know there was a sequel on the PlayStation 1. This did play like the original Frogger. It's featuring a similar 4-way moving system, which is also, but it's based in like a 3D world and 3D models, and it's all 3D, but it still works. It still plays like the old Frogger. It also allowed you to play as Frogger's girlfriend, Lily, who was a little pink frog, which was, you know, suitable for the girls. I know that it sounds a bit messy because, I mean, as you probably know, a lot of games that jumped from 2D to 3D did not do it successfully. I'm looking at you, Earthworm Jim, because you did not transition very well. Basically, you have to rescue all their kids. Swampy had kidnapped all the kids. There's like full cinematic scenes. There's like, you go into volcanoes. It's just, for a game I didn't have much expectations for, it really surprised and challenged me, and I thought it was a really fun game. And now we're on to number 4, Spyro the Dragon. I know I'm cheating. I know this is not the PlayStation 1 game. I don't actually own the PlayStation 1 original disc anymore. I lost it in a move years ago when I moved to Northern Ireland, so much sad. So I'm just using this as reference right now because the game got a remake treatment not too long ago, and they did it spectacularly, may I add. Honestly, if you want to like play these games again, I wouldn't even go back to PlayStation 1, I would just play the remastered magic of what they've done to this game because it plays the exact same way and it's added extras. It's just, But yes, getting into the game, because obviously I'm going to talk about a bit more from my childhood. I always felt that kids my age, you were either a Crash person or a Spyro person. So I was a Spyro girl. Interestingly, Liam is a Crash boy. He likes Crash Bandicoot. I didn't like Crash Bandicoot. I still don't like Crash that much. I was always hardcore Spyro the Dragon. As you can see, I have a lot of Spyro little bits and bobs. I mean, I don't have a lot. These are probably the only bits I have. But I love Spyro. I love his design. He's a cute little sassy purple dragon. Who doesn't love that? Who doesn't love a sassy character? I thought the level design was beautiful. The world felt really real. All the dragons, especially in the remake, because they've been done up, all the dragons you release. And they're just interesting. It's so cool to to see this world so beautiful, like, and there's so many different levels, and it's a challenging game. It's fun. It's not like broken hard, it's just challenging enough. The secret, like, you can do 120% on the game if you didn't know, which is where you go to Nasty Nork's treasury and you get the rest of the jewels that he's taken from the world itself. You play as Spyro, who is trying to save his race because Nasty Nork has turned all the dragons into crystals or like statues, and you've got to rescue them all, and you've got to defeat him as well so he doesn't go around doing it again. But yeah, it's just a really fun game. This is one that most people probably knew was on the list, or most people expected to either see this or Crash. So, you know, gotta have some classic favorites in there. Now on to number 3. I do not have the game with me. I have the second one, is Medieval. I don't actually own the original PlayStation 1 Medieval. Again, that was like the Spyro situation, it was lost in the move. But I did recently just buy the second game. I don't know if this is any good because I haven't played this one before. So I recently replayed the PS4 remaster of the original Medieval, which if you guys haven't checked out, please check it out. So this is one I kind of always found you either loved it or you hated it. I remember when I was growing up, a lot of people had it, but the amount of people that used to take it back to shop, I remember talking to people about it and then being like, it's too hard. I hate it. I can't get past the third level. I'm stuck. And I'd be like, but it's so fun, like it's so spooky and creepy and the humor's great. It's like, I couldn't beat it as a kid. I would be honest right now, I could not beat that game. I think I got past the sleeping village as a kid, and that was as far as I ever got. I remember it was so exciting for me to play as an adult, to finally get to see the full worlds that they had created, because I was able to get through it all because I'm a lot better at gaming now. And I love the challenge. It's still challenging. I still struggled with it. I still got stuck on levels, but it was still fun. Now the game is set in a medieval kingdom called Gameboy, and it focuses around a protagonist called Daniel Fortescue. I think I read that right. Who is basically trying to stop the main antagonist, Zarok? I can never pronounce him, but he's an evil wizard. He invaded the whole kingdom and he has basically laid havoc to Gameboy. That's why it's so spooky and creepy. Like, Daniel is dead. He is an undead that has been brought back to life, probably by accident, by the wizard. And he's basically given another chance to redeem himself because he really failed in the initial war against this sorcerer. And it's a way for him to kind of you know, not be a laughing stock anymore, because that's part of the humor of the game. He has literally made a laughing stock because of he died in the first wave. He got hit in the eye with an arrow and he died. So he didn't do anything and everyone else did. And that's why they have the Hall of Heroes, which is where he goes and it's where you get all your like upgrades for your weapons and your new weapons and all that other stuff. And they're always taking the mick out of him, or some of them really like him. All the characters are quite captivating. I love the little gargoyles that talk to you. Everything seems really sassy. It has like full cinematic scenes for the opening of each level. And I remember like the sleeping village used to give me goosebumps, because the idea of the sleeping village is that you can't attack anyone in the village because they're all just villagers, but they're possessed and they're running around like screaming like maniacs, and it's a bit terrifying. Like, the little girl goes la 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 la, skipping around with a giant axe, and you're just like, fuck, I can't hit these people, I can't kill them, I can't hurt them. And now you haven't got an excuse because it's out on the PS4 remastered, and I played it for 3 days straight and platinumed that game, and I loved every minute of it, and I plan to probably play through it again at some point. I just think if you're like really into kind of like spooky games, then this is kind of the one for you. And now we're on to number 2, which sometimes is argued as my favorite game of all time. I kind of go in and out of it, but this is my favorite fighting game of all time. It's Soul Blade. I absolutely adore this game. I can still play it to this day. It's amazing. I still remember, like, I've been playing this game since I was 3 years old, and I still remember all the combos for Sung Mina, who is the character in this game that has basically like a spear, but they're a different name. And I'm going to say this once. I have an argument about this game all the time, and I'm sick of people trying to tell me I'm wrong, because I'm not. Soul Blade is the first game in the Soulcalibur series. It came out on the arcade in 1995, was ported and updated to the PlayStation 1 in 1996. Soulcalibur, the one that everyone keeps trying to tell me is the first game in the franchise, was in 1998. This is, even though it's got a different name, this is what the original franchise started from. This is the first one. I am so annoyed. If anyone comments I'm wrong, I swear, Google it, because it drives, the amount of people I've had kind of conventions, and I'll bring up that this is my favorite fighting game, and they're like, oh yeah, I played the first one, Soulcalibur. I'm like, that's not the first one. This is the first one. I don't know why it pisses me off so much, but it really does. But anyway, ran over. But I like to bring it out every now and again and try and do arcade mode, because it's hard. because it originally was an arcade game. So this has kind of got quite a good difficulty. Like, you can't just pick up any character and play through the game and just be like, there we go, done. It's not that simple. You need to learn how to use the characters. Hence why, even to this day, I've only ever actually played through arcade on 3 characters, because they're the only 3 characters I took the time to learn. And they're the 3 female characters. Sungmina's my favorite. I played through it as Sophia and I played through it as Taki. But yeah, because it was originally an arcade game, it is hard. It does, even the story mode on it is really hard. I remember there's one, I always tell Liam about this when I talk about this game, because I did it recently. When you're playing through the story, like the main campaign mode, you have like certain restrictions in each battle, and one of them is you have to defeat an enemy by grabbing them. And there's one character called Sophia, and her way to do a grab is that she knees them in the balls and goes, "I'm sorry." And it's just so funny to hear it on repeat going, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry," to fall to the floor to be kneed in the balls. I don't know why it amuses me so much. I thought it was hilarious. The campaign mode is so hard. I've only done campaign mode with 2 characters, which is Sophia and Sungmina. If you're not interested in getting the older game, this old game, actually, I think about 2 years ago, Soulcalibur 6 came out, and we waited a long time for that because Soulcalibur 5 did not do well. So recently enough, Soulcalibur 6 has come out, and I've not bought it yet or played it because I keep forgetting it exists, if I'm honest. I haven't really gone into details of what the kind of plot of this game is. It centers around like this sword called Soul Edge, which is shrouded in mystery. It's full of unlimited power and it's just rumored to exist. Like, there is no kind of solid proof, but you can play as one of 9 heroes who basically seek out the legend of the sword, and some of them will either A, claim it or destroy it because this power is evil. And depending on what character you play as, you will get a certain ending. But there is one canon ending at this game, and if you've played Soulcalibur or Soulcalibur 2, you can pretty much guess which one is the canon ending. Well, basically a certain character appears in it in a certain form, and that is how you know what the canon ending was. It's really interesting because it does have a canon story progressing through each game. But yeah, I think the story is really fun. It's really interesting. I was always hooked on it. And as you can tell by how passionately I've talked about this game, I like this game a lot. And now we're on to number 1. My favorite game of all time, in fact, is Final Fantasy IX. Now, this game is the reason I set kind of a precedent that I wouldn't do any duplicates of a franchise, because I feel like this list would have been like Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy IX and Final Fantasy VI and just stuff like that. So I made a rule that I was only allowed to pick 1 Final Fantasy game for this, and that is Final Fantasy IX. It is my favorite Final Fantasy of all time. I absolutely adore the game. I'm really into RPG turn-based combat games, and this one is just a perfect combination of everything I love in Final Fantasy. It's kind of not the last true Final Fantasy, but it's very close to it. It kind of harbors back to the old Final Fantasy games. Like, there's a lot of things that have come back from previous Final Fantasy games that you may not pick up on if you hadn't played them before, and it's just got a great storyline. Like, I've cried during this game. I've laughed. I've been in shock at certain things that happen. There's something that happens in it that I'm not going to talk about. Like, I don't want to spoil any of these games for anyone. And I remember my mind just going because I couldn't comprehend what was happening. As you may know from the Final Fantasy franchise, they do duplicate a lot of monsters. Like, they repeat monsters over and summons over, and like weapons and characters over through the franchise, and I feel like this game has some of the best monster models and summon models of any games. It's got my favorite variation of Carbuncle, it has my favorite variation of Leviathan, and it has one of my favorite versions of Bahamut. I love them. I think they're really nicely done. I feel like some other games do them a little bit better. Like, it depends on your preference. Like, Final Fantasy VIII does just Ifrit the best. But I feel like they mastered them. Like, they really nailed some of these monsters. And the soundtrack is just, like, my favorite track of all time is the final boss music. It gives me goosebumps every single time, and I would honestly play it from start to finish just to listen to that again. I have beaten the game about 13 times. It is, I could go, I'm not going to ramble on forever like I did with the last game, because I've rambled on about this game so many times during streams, so many times in like conventions. Like, it is literally my favorite game of all time. It brought me so much joy. It's part of the reason I learned to read, because I was so interested in the story, that I proper practiced in my reading on it. I would take, even if it took me like a long time to read them, I would sit and read everything that was coming up so I could fully encapsulate the story. Ironically, this is one of the only Final Fantasy games I haven't cosplayed from. Not from lack of trying, I just haven't. I don't even know why, I just haven't. But I will eventually. I would like to cosplay as Beatrix or Zidane, to be honest. But I don't know, we'll see. One day I hope to cosplay from it, but I haven't yet, so you know. I don't want to go into too many details about what the story is, but basically you play as the main character who's called Zidane, and he kidnaps the princess of Alexandria to kind of, it's for another kingdom to kind of keep her safe and to kind of get her away from the queen, who has started a war along this whole continent. And you're basically playing as Zidane and Garnet getting through this war. Which is, it's only actually the first kind of arc of the story. By the end of disc 2, that's kind of done with, and you're onto something so much bigger. That's just like a little pebble in the ocean. Like, that's not even near what this game brings to the story. And it also has my favorite variation of a Chocobo minigame, which is Chocobo Hot and Cold. Oh my god, I spent hours doing that. I have done every single little side quest you can do on that, and it's so much fun and I love it. Some of them I hate, some of the Chocobo minigames I absolutely despise. I'm looking at you, Final Fantasy X. But anyway, that was my number 1. I'm not going to go on and on and on about it. If you guys are into Final Fantasy games and you've not played Final Fantasy IX, I really do recommend it, because if you like Final Fantasy, you will love this game. It encapsulates so much of what the Final Fantasy franchise is and was, and it's just a really nice and fun game. And that's my list. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, this little dive into like nostalgia past. Let me know if any of these games are ones that you've played or you enjoyed growing up, or if there's something I haven't mentioned that's your favorite game, you know, please comment below. I'm really interested to see what games you guys played growing up. I know some of these were a bit out there, like Frogger 2 especially. I don't think people have heard of that one. So if anyone's heard of that, I would love to, you know, hear about it. So please don't be shy, comment below what your favorite PlayStation 1 game is, and anything else you want to add, even if it's just your favorite game from childhood, do it. The next one I plan to do, I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I'm hoping to do it on Game Boy Color. So you can imagine that Pokemon will make a little bit of a mention in there. That one's going to be difficult. A Game Boy Color. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting list. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think. If these are the kind of videos you know you like seeing. Also, I'm going to talk about merch again, because I do in every video. At the moment, TeePublic has actually took down 2 of the other designs. So at the moment, the only one available is this boy. This is the best one, but it's sad times. So if you want this top, you kind of need to get it now. Like, don't worry if you can't and you don't have the money, but I'm just saying it because I'm wary that TeePublic is probably going to take it down at some point. So, you know, if you want it, links in the bio below, and please check, you know, tag me in pictures of you wearing it, or let me know if you've bought it, because you'll make my day, because I can finally show this is Arcanina's best boy. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!